Hi there, folks. Simon here. This is the 2022 TAC Championship. This is Game 4 of the semifinals between Abyss and alion02. This is played on a 6x6 board with a 15-minute time limit and a 15-second increment, meaning 15 seconds gets added to your clock after every turn. We're also being played with 2 komi, meaning that if the game does not end in a road, 2 gets added to Black's flat count score. Now, this is Abyss versus alion02. They split their first 2 games. Game 3, Abyss won as Black in, I gotta say, an absolutely epic game that was crazy and played probably 30 turns below 1 minute. In terms of how much time they had on their clocks. It was insane, very, very quick. And it went back and forth. Very, very good game. Abyss came back from basically oblivion. So be sure to watch that if you haven't already. And now we're going to see if alion02 can win as Black. Because if Abyss wins as White, he goes on to the finals against Ali. Now, we do know that that Ali is in the finals now. He did come out on top against Manatee. And this is a chance to see if Abyss makes it. If alion02 does win as Black, they will have to go into a tiebreaker, which is complicated, and we won't get into it unless we actually have to. But they would have to play another game to check that out. So we will see. So without any further ado whatsoever, let's jump right into Game 4 of Abyss versus alion02 in the semifinals of the 2022 TAC Championship. All right, and here we see A6. And then the hug. The hug comes out as we knew Alion would play. He plays the hug. I don't know how this is going to end up. I'm not super great with the hug, but that early capstone from White is huge. And I'd say Abyss is doing well. That capstone from Black at D4 doesn't look like it's going to do a lot, for me at least. But, yeah, I mean, I was thinking B4. You'd go for B4 here, and then if Black plays at B6, you just play at C5 and continue to go for this horizontal line. I guess Black could eventually come down, and then you just switch gears to the vertical. I mean, it doesn't look bad for White, but you saw how quick Black placed that capstone down. They knew what they were doing ahead of time. Like, they had that planned out. And the reason I believe for that is because of playing on solo time just a few minutes ago. Under a minute on the clock, often under 30 seconds on the clock for many turns in a row will do that to you. And we're seeing a very early wall here from Black, not taking any chances. Yeah, that is interesting. Are we going to see maybe a flat at D3 here? Sort of play out in this area. But Will in the chat saying, looks like Alion has studied some since last time. And I believe he's talking about how they played a similar game before. And they had a similar opening when he did the hug last time, I guess. I don't know. But it is important to note that all 3 players, or that all 3 games that were played between these 2 players in this match were all won as Black. So Black won in all 3 games that they played. So if this continues, alion02 would win if this trend continues. But will it is the question. All right. Abyss taking a little more time here than Alion. Alion is playing quicker. Trying to build that time buffer. Doesn't want to run into those same issues he did in the previous game. Now, oh man. I'm still geeking out about the previous game. Sorry. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It was really good. But I think we're going to see another good game here, or we could see a terrible game because their minds are both melted and they can't think straight, which would be a completely reasonable outcome after the previous game. But it looks like Abyss is taking his time here. Playing at D3 makes sense to me a little bit. Playing at B2 also makes sense. Playing at B6 makes sense. He does go for the B2 route, and I like that play. I think it's good. You could do a self-capture later on with the capstone, go in here. A B6 play is fine. And kind of go for this horizontal or this vertical threat. Now the vertical threat is great here. And the reason it's great is because Black's capstone is on the other side of White's capstone, separated from all of White's pieces. So if White wants to start building something over here, Black's going to have to interrupt that without the help of his own capstone. And that can be difficult sometimes. But also Black is going to start building for this vertical over here, trying to do it on the other side of this capstone so that White can't use their capstone to interrupt Black's threats. I think White might be quicker at this. Let's see if White has momentum. White plays B6, Black plays D1, White plays B1, White comes left with the capstone. Yeah, that would... White has momentum, but barely. Barely has momentum here, but he does have momentum. But now that Black has a place, or White has some placements, ooh, White comes down, unexpected. Will Black come up, or will Black place? Because Black could run with the wall so he doesn't get smashed for a threat later on. A White flat at B6 would be a good threat for White. Be able to smash. I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough spot for Black, to be honest. This is a good position for White. White at 13:37 on the clock. Black down at 14. So still up on time is Black, but potentially not for long. What are we seeing? alion02 taking his time here. Really taking his time. Which makes sense. Doesn't want to get into a really bad position early on. But I would be wary of falling too far behind on time after being under time pressure for so long in the previous game. Okay, Black just going for the flat placement. Does White go for the B6? So this flat placement kind of helps control this vertical threat, but it also doesn't hurt Black's own vertical threat here. Now Black's got a couple options, can play at C5 or D5 to continue this vertical line. That works out right. But that was a long time thinking on that move. And yes, I play much quicker than they do, but I also don't play as well as they do. Maybe there's a correlation there. I was talking to Abyss once, and he said, for whatever reason, he was saying that I play so fast that by turn 3, I'd somehow be on 20 minutes on the clock because I play so fast. Because I always end up a game with more time than I start with. Not a great thing, I don't think. But we're seeing white play off to the side. Looks like they're going for a horizontal line now, which makes a lot of sense because black's going for this vertical, and you want to kind of cut that off. And a good way to cut that off is to go for a perpendicular line that you can cut off using a capstone, perhaps, and setting up that same threat there. So black's building up. Now building up is smart here because you're going for this vertical line, but let's say you connect it here at c6, and then you place it b6. Suddenly you've got a horizontal threat as well. And so you can switch gears a lot easier building up at c6 than if you had, say, built down at d1 or e1 here. Now b6 is nice for white. However, white has to stop black's threat on the next turn after white plays at b6. Hmm. White spending a lot of time. Down below 11 minutes now. Black is still above 13. Okay, white continuing along for this horizontal line. Black's got to know that this capstone's coming right onto d3 at some point. What we're probably going to see is if black decides to let this happen, we're going to see black at c6, and then 2c3 right, and then c3, and then d1. And now let's go over that so you can follow it this time. So it'd be black c6, boom, 2c3 right, so white b here onto d3. Black plays a flat here at c3, and then with this capstone here, and the black plays the flat here to stop the road. With that here and this there, that makes white playing a flat at d1 a threat, capturing up. And from there, I don't know what would happen. Maybe this comes down. But now this is the threat. White's capstone does come over. Black does place there. Does white play at d1? If they do, clearly I'm a genius. Because black... So if white plays d1, black comes left with d2, makes the vertical threat. Or does white play c1 instead of d1, not making the threat, but building for the future and stopping black's vertical? Because d1 is the immediate threat, c1 is building for the future to stop black's eventual threat. C1 also makes this connection, this anchor point here to these other lines. And so white could, for example, play up at b6, and then that's a threat for the vertical direction. Okay, now we're seeing, we did see d1, and then we did see black come left. If white plays a flat here at c1, that stops this threat. But then black could play at d2 and continue the threat. Actually, that's not too bad. Not too bad. Trying to think, if you could get control of this flat, maybe if you just captured right now, if you did b2 right, that would be a threat horizontally. You could spread this up, 3c2 plus 1, 2, and that would be a road. But if you do capture right, you gotta imagine that black's gonna drop down. Oh. But white instead captures left, threatening this stack. I don't know about that move. I feel like that might have been a bit of a mistake, because now black's capstone isn't trapped where it was on that half of the board, because white's capstone is no longer blocking it. So it is now able to come down and get into this. Black comes left to avoid that capstone capturing it. Now, does white go for maybe a d3 placement? I wouldn't want to make a d3 placement because that gives black the opportunity to come down with the capstone and interrupt this. Or do you play over maybe an a3, a4 to try and go for this vertical line off to the left? Maybe b6. Or do you go for down below a1, b1, c1, something like that, go for this horizontal line at the bottom of the board? I feel like white is in a much better position here. But we know that how that turned out from the previous game. So, a lot can happen. But we also want to take a look at the time, because Abyss is now down below 8 minutes, whereas alion02 has over 12. That is a 4-minute buffer. PlutoTheBrave saying b6 looks good here, going for the vertical. There are just so many options right now for white. b6 is one of them, and I do think that it works really well in a lot of ways. If black wants to go for a horizontal, which they likely do at some point, b6 kind of interrupts that a lot. It also works towards white's vertical here. Black might be focusing on this vertical instead of going for the horizontal right now, but b6 still works to try and kind of cut that off. Coming right onto c6 kind of ruins that. So yeah, I do agree with Pluto here. b6 seems nice. d3 is risky because now the capstone has a good excuse to move down onto d3. And you don't want the capstone to have an excuse to do that. But it is important to note also that if white ever wants to smash this wall, they've got to do it when making a road, because this is currently a threat. So if white smashes, that's a road right away, just to spread down to that c3 stack. Black plays up at b6 now. This is what I was worried about, where black now that this is sort of cut off from the vertical threat, Black's just going to switch gears, go for the horizontal, and that works out better. Now black is in a pretty decent position. Um, hmm. I'm not sure what to do here. I mean, what do you do here as white? Um, I think you might play off to the side here on the left, a4, a3, a1, something like that. Maybe b1. Yeah, you play a b1. Yeah, you play at b1 or you capture onto b2. Yeah, of course you do that. The reason why you couldn't do that before is because the wall would just come down and get it, right? Well, if the wall comes down and gets it, you get white playing a flat here and wins with the road. So you can totally take b2 now. And white's setting up to do that. However, you're taking too long. Black's going to make a threat on the very next turn by placing an e4. And then ruining your threat. Yeah, I think you needed to capture b2. I think this turn c2 was too slow. You needed to take b2 instead. It may have invited another wall, probably here at c2. But yeah, but now black's got a threat. And so white has to respond to this threat instead of doing what they want to do, which is mess around with this big stack. Brings the capstone up, but then black plays at d5, right? No, because can't play at d5 because that's a road threat for white. So I guess black walls here or brings the capstone down. Or even e2 plus. That also does that same job. Yeah, e2 plus happens. Now this works well for a few reasons. Number one, it doesn't ruin black's horizontal threat that he's been building for. Number two, it also works towards black's vertical threat because it cuts off that line and grants access down below. I like black's position here. It's not bad. White... I don't know. It's tough to tell who's ahead right now. I feel like white's ahead, but it's not by a ton. But I would say white is ahead here. What are we looking at? For black, do you just play at d6 and go for that horizontal up around the top? Looks like you do. If you're Alion, at least. And he does have 5 minutes on Abyss right now, which is a huge time buffer. Alion clearly taking note of the previous game and making sure he's got plenty of time to use later on when he needs it most. Especially after missing that Tinue in the situation where where Alion called it a beginner puzzle. A beginner Tinue puzzle is how easy that Tinue was to spot, which none of us spotted, by the way, except for Abyss. Maybe the next turn, but yeah. All right, white drop on a wall here. Aggressive move, being able to capture onto e3, but black can run away with that wall. That stack can go straight over 2e3 right onto f3. Capturing onto f3 gets it out of the way of that wall, and also forms an anchor point for this side of the board. But black can also just ignore it and play at e6. Or ignore it and play at f4, which is also another attack threat. Coming down with d6 or coming right with c5 would be a road. Instead, white captures up onto a6, cuts off that whole horizontal road. Now, black can drop a wall here or a flat and try and mess with that. If he drops a wall, white might drop a wall here after the capture. Drops a flat. Which I think is the smart play to do. Now he's kind of in a pickle because this flat is way better than a wall. The flat can come up and really secure this area, because then b5 plus would just get retaken. Black's in a really strong position right now. It is fascinating that in all three of their games, black has won. And I wonder if that is a playstyle thing, or if they're at such a close level that the komi puts black ahead, or what's going on here. Don't know. What I do know is that Abyss needs to hurry up because he's down to 3 minutes on the clock, and then and alion02 has 10. That is a 7-minute buffer. Just looking at the clocks, I would say Alion is way ahead. Alion also has a really strong position right now on the board. That was an unexpected move, playing at c3. Why are you playing at c3? What does c3 do? Clearly, a5 plus is the move for black, right? Black plays a5 plus. Does white bring the capstone up yet again onto c5? Maxing out the stack? Sorry, not maxing out the stack. You can have any height in a stack that you can get to, but the carry limit of the stack is, on a 6x6 board, 6. So my only thought right now is that white's going to bring the capstone up, because the only other move he's got is to bring this flat up onto f4. And that doesn't really do anything because black then, I guess f4, f3 plus works. Then black would play at f3 and then white brings the wall up. Yeah, I guess that's how you do it. You wouldn't bring the capstone up. That wouldn't, yeah. f3 plus. No, f3 plus and then black just plays at e6. Yeah, I feel like the capstone has to come up. Yep, and it does. Cap comes up. Will black just play at e6 anyway? And get a d5 plus capture? Looks like white is looking for a vertical line here. I don't know if he's going to get it, but he's looking for it. Black, plenty of time to spare right now. Got 6 minutes buffer time between you. At 8 minutes versus 2.5. That's insane right now. What's also crazy is that he's so far ahead with that much time buffer. And he's using a lot of that time thinking of what move to make here. And e6 is fine, but it's not something that can't be stopped. I mean, d5 plus stops that. Or bringing the capstone up all the way again to c6. So white has 9 flats on the board, black has 10. Black doesn't play e6, instead plays at e5, which is interesting. Now, e5 is a threat by placing at e6 or by coming up with the capstone onto d5. White brings that that cap up all the way to c6. Now he's got 7 in this stack. So he's got to leave behind a black flat if he wants to move that capstone. At least one black flat. Oh, this is tricky. White's now down below 2 minutes on the clock. Black playing at c4 because he spots that white wanted to make that vertical line. Also, that, same thing works for the horizontal there. White might want to come up with e2 onto e3 finally, and then maybe make some positive flat count differential moves with that. Maybe play at a4 or a5 or b1. All of those do something, work towards his goal, but he's now below a minute on the clock. Abiz, you're under a minute. And he drops a wall up at A5 to capture onto A6. I feel like at this point, Abyss doesn't feel super confident in this game, in his position, because he's not playing... I don't know. He's not playing super aggressively. He's playing very defensively. Manatee in the Twitch chat saying, "A white cap stands upon the bones of so many fallen, a tower in their own right." I like it. I like it. Very, very good. Very, very good. What is that line from Edgar Allan Poe? Edgar Allan Poe had a line. From a proud tower in the town, death looks gigantically down. That's what it is. But I don't know how much death this capstone is going to be dealing. I mean, right now it looks really difficult for either player to make a road. So they might just start going for flats here. If that's the case, what do you do as black? Do you just place a bunch of flats? Because white has 9. Black has 11. I think if I'm black here, I continue to place flats and put on some minor pressure. So yeah, E6 works. Then maybe place at F2, F1, put on pressure for a vertical road there. Place at A4 or something, going for this horizontal. Just continue to place these flats down and push that flat advantage. White does decide to play down at B1. Okay, black going for the vertical line, it looks like. Can't quite make the threat, though, because D1 is blocking that. White does finally come up with that capstone, or that, not capstone, but with that wall, ready to make a +3 move. Black may decide to self-capture onto E4 to stop that move from happening, but also to threaten that stack at E3. But White's also probably not thinking exactly of the +3 move and more of a +2 move, which would be a horizontal tag threat capturing up with B1. Now, White's down below a minute, but alion02 still has 5 minutes to think about what he's doing and what his opponent is doing, so he likely won't be trapped out in an easy tag threat like that. But he's got to be thinking about how to stay ahead on flats and maybe push this towards flats so he can win this. But I do really like that capstone over onto E4 move right here for black. Yes, it is essentially a -1 flat move, but you could be looking at a lot worse in a moment. -1 is a lot better than -3. I will say that. But taking his time here, really using that buffer that he's built up over all these turns. And a reminder, this is Game 4 of the semifinals match between Abyss and alion02 in the championship tournament, if Abyss wins this game, he goes on to the finals. alion02 has to win this to push it to a tiebreaker. That might be why he's starting to take quite a bit more time and being really deliberate with his moves. He does make the self-capture. A -1 flat count move, makes the self-capture, threatens the stack on e3. Will we see just like a 2e3 minus move to keep it away from the cap? The cap can still throw all the way and smash and work towards the vertical road that way. And that would probably be fine. We might have to see, yeah, I was about to say, we might have to see 3e3 -1, 2, which is what we do see. That wall stack throwing all the way down here out of range of that capstone. Really doesn't want that capstone touching him. The problem with that now is that if white ever places at e3, black then gets a +3 move. So white's got to avoid placing at e3 to keep that +3 move from happening. Probably place at f2. F2 would work. So black plays at f1. Okay, black going for that vertical threat over on that side of the board. White playing at f2 makes a lot of sense here. Instead plays at c1. Looks like they're going for that vertical as well, building up towards this. Playing at c5 would be a vertical tack threat. Playing at a1 would be a horizontal tack threat. Black currently does not have a road threat. So will white play at c5 or a1? If white plays at a1, black can cut that off and go for their vertical at the same time. If white plays at c5, black has to change what they're doing to account for this threat. Okay. So if black moves the wall on b3 to c3, I could see maybe b1 plus. No, maybe not b1 plus. Maybe c2 left. Now from here, white fills in at c4, black comes down. Well, I mean, white can fill in at c3 or capture to make the threat again. So captures, makes the threat, it's renewed. Black now has only 2 options to stop this. Can throw the capstone left or capture right with the c2 stack. That was a really smart play because of the 2 options that Alion has. That's a bad move. Because this just results in that capture, and that's not what you want as black. But throwing the capstone left really screws up your vertical that you're going for. That was a great play from Abyss to really pull that off. Let's look at these last few moves. So he plays And then this gets so he thinks, okay, if I fill in here, that's the threat. He'll come down, and he does. Now, instead of placing here or here, he makes the capture first. So the capture first is what really put alion02 in a bad position, because now, no matter what move he makes to stop this threat from happening, it's a bad move. Like, it's not good. So White likely wants to capture this with d3 minus, but he's got 15 seconds on the clock. So if he's going to do something else, do it quickly. So he does do that. This is now attack threat in the vertical direction. Black's got to stop that. Stops it with a wall. He can spread left. If he spreads... Oh! Is this Tinue? It's Tinue. It's Tinue. He's got Tinue. Oh my gosh. He's got Tinue. If he makes the spread left, leaves behind... No, he didn't do the right spread. He missed the spread. He missed it. He missed the Tinue. At least I think it was Tinue. I'm pretty positive that was Tinue. If he had done 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 left, 2, 1, 2. 2, 1, 2? No. 2, 1, 3. 6 left, 2, 1, 3 would have been Tinue. It would have been the game. That would have been it. That would have been it. Oh, 6 left, 2, 1, 3. I got to look at that move. That was move 32. But he had so little time, there's no way he was going to spot that spread. He kind of sees it now. But alion02 has over a minute left on the clock. Abyss is just struggling down there with 20-something seconds. And now we see Alion just dropping 4 walls in a row. That is one way to do it. Yeah, that is something that you can do. Oh, spreading down, getting that wall to chase. Oh, man. Yeah, this is... Now it's looking a lot worse for Abyss. I'm pretty positive Abyss had Tinue there on 32. I am almost 100%. I'm 99% sure Abyss had Tinue on 32, but missed the right spread. He did 42, left 2, 2. He should have done 6, D2, left 2, 1, 3. And that would have been Tinue. But it's hard to see it when you've got 10 seconds on the clock, for sure. Okay, so now alion02 captures down with that wall, able to make a +5 move. Yeah, no, a +5 move here on the next turn. That basically seals the deal, and I'm not sure if White can come back from that. That's the threat from Black. White can come right with the wall. Black can place it E1. Black wants to place it E1. Placing it E2 isn't as good because that allows White to drop another flat down. But he plays up at F5 instead? Why wouldn't you place it E1? White makes that +2 move up the top. I'm not sure what White can do to get out of this situation. There's a really solid positive flat count differential move for Black just waiting to happen, and I don't think White can do anything about it. White drops another flat. Black's down to 3 reserves. They're waiting to make that +5 move until the following turn, basically until he's about to win. Black dropping more flats. Yeah, let's see. Is that 15 for white? Yeah, 15 for white. 11 for black. So now it's 16 for white, 11 for black. So that's white has +4, but black's about to make a +5 move to put himself ahead. At least I think it's a +5 move. Wait, what was that? Okay, comes down. Now he's got a +2 move again. Or +3 move, sorry. He's got a +3 and a +5. White's just placing frantically. Trying to set up a attack threat on the following turn. Yeah, it gets the +3 move. Now, white might play... Does white just play at d2, makes the threat? The threat is made. That's the +5 move. So I think black's at 14 now. Yeah, 14. White's at 13. Yeah, white doesn't have any way to win this, basically. Interesting that he played there. Instead of, like, I get why he doesn't play at d4, because he doesn't want to get that +3 move from the capstone. But, like, it would have been at least a threat, you know? I don't know why black made that move. He can flat out and just place flats and win. I'm not sure what the point of that one was. But what that means is, I mean, if he keeps it together, Alion's got 7 seconds on the clock. He's got one more flat to place. And he places it, and he wins 13-15. Wow. Went down to the wire there. Okay, I gotta see this. I gotta see this on turn 32. So, first of all, great game. Congratulations to alion02 for winning game 4. What that means is that these two players will have to go into a tiebreaker in order to decide who goes on to the finals of the 2022 TAC Championship. And yes, I see that that was in fact a TAC threat that I just wasn't paying attention to. So that's why he did that. Never mind. Makes a lot of sense. But yes, they will have to play a tiebreaker game in order to do that. And there's some really confusing stuff that goes around that. I honestly don't understand how it works. There's like this komi bidding thing that they have to do, and I really don't understand how it works, but somebody does somewhere, and they'll have that working pretty soon. And I don't know if they're going to be playing now. Probably not, because I'm pretty sure for alion02 it's got to be like 4 a.m. or something ridiculous. So they're not playing it now, thank goodness. Yeah, because that would be too much right now. So they'll be playing the tiebreaker another time, so congratulations to both players for playing a phenomenal match, and good luck in the tiebreaker for sure. But let's look at this position on 32 real quick before I sign off. So 32. Okay, so this stack has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if he brings up the whole 6 and drops 2 here, that leaves a black and a white. And then he drops 1 white on B2. So 2, 1, 3. Then he can place or spread at C3 for a vertical road. Or you can spread up from A2 to A4 for a vertical road. And there is no way to stop both of those threats that I'm able to see. That would have been a Tinue. Oh man. But he had so little time, there's no way you could have spotted that spread. I mean, you could have spotted the spread, or maybe not me in that little time. I don't know. Very difficult to spot that spread in that amount of time. You got to be right in the headspace for it and see that's there. But that was a really, really great game. And I saw what he was doing. He was trying to maintain it for the horizontal so he could go this direction. But he did have that opportunity. Oh man, that's too bad. But awesome game. Really glad I got to watch that. That was a lot of fun. Congratulations again to both players for playing phenomenal games here. So thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAC, especially the Discord server, which is where you can find all sorts of strategy guides and people to play with, whether that be on playtac.com or over in the Discord server playing asynchronously right there. Lots of people to play with, lots of fun resources, lots of TAC stuff. So be sure to check that out, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.